So Galaxy S9, there is a chat button on the bottom of the screen, or should be. You should be able to have chat on the side if you want to text anything in. Today we're looking at just some basic study of Aibreet or Hebrew. I hope that my sound is coming in loud enough. Let's check.
Out clear.
Oh, that must be better now. Okay. I don't know why it adjusts the volume, but I'll have to remember to do that when I start my meetings. All right. So we're recording, and welcome to another edition of The Way of the Most High. And so let's get into the business of at least covering a few letters in Aibreet or Hebrew. So first of all, we will cover some prefixes and suffixes. Let's get my screen share going here. So this letter here is the letter wa, and you'll see that in front of a lot of words as you're going through Aibreet or Hebrew. And this means and. In this case, they translated it as now. Sometimes you'll get two prefixes in front of a word. So in this case, we've got the letter hey also as a prefix. And hey is translated as the. So we have got hey used as a prefix again later on in this verse from Genesis 3:1. And in this case, the ha is translated again as the, and then the subject of the word is shada, which is field. I've tried to explain to people that it's my understanding, or my belief, that the letters should not be changed by vowel pointing or nikkud. I could teach nikkud, and I probably will, but first I want to just go through a basic understanding of the letters and words in modern and in Hebrew, so that people can at least learn how to read this for themselves. So we had our two prefixes in the first word there, the wa and the he. And then we've got our root word, which is nun, chet, shin, nefesh. Nefesh is the serpent or a snake. Another prefix you see is mem. So in this case, we've got the mem in front of the root word, which is from. In this case, we don't have it literally translated as that in the English. He is more subtle than they would have translated it as any. The word kal, kaf and lamed, is the word for all. So a more literal translation of this would be from all. From all of the beasts of the field, or life. All life of the field would be a better translation, because it's using this root word life, which is chay, the chet and the yad. And here, of course, we have the name of Yahweh for those that are not aware of the name of our Creator. Yad, He, Wah, He. The only other name that compares to that in the Torah is the name of Yehuda. So if you remove the dalet from Yehuda, then you have the name of Yahweh. And this is, of course, translated as Lord and Lord. So anytime that you see this in the English text, you know that they were substituting the name of Yah because it's all in capitals. Of course, God is what most people refer to the Creator as. A better translation than God would be a being with great might or authority and power. So I use Mighty One. And the ending here, the Yod and the Mem, is your plural form. And what a lot of New Testament or Christian people don't understand about Hebrew is that plural forms of words are used to refer to singular things or people at times. So this word is Elohim, Al, Lamed, He, Yad, and Mem. So we've covered the Wa prefix, the He prefix. Wa is usually and, He is the. We've covered the Mem as a prefix, or from. And another one, which is the Yod. So at the beginning of the verse, you had Wa and He. And now if you come to the second line of verse 1, there we've got the Wa and the Yod. And our root word is Amer. Amer means to speak or to say. And when you add the letter Yod to it, that is where you have he said. So while Yamer, and then he said, so on and so forth. We're going to go through, or we can do this one too, because some of these words are words you're going to see all throughout the Torah. They're used repetitively. So this word al, it means unto. Unto Asher. It's unto the lady. This word here, Tav and Yad, is key. And that's a reference to 4, but it's not translated as 4 in this text. It's just unto. So they translate that. So unto or 4 is key. For Amar, for said Elohim. La. La is the word for no, or do not. And we have the tau as a prefix, is a great one. Ta'aklu. The wa at the end indicates you. So he said unto you, or to for you not to eat. So this is the word for not, la, and ta'aklu. Ta'aklu meaning that you shall not eat. With the, again, with the law prefix, the word there in front. So you shall not eat from all. Again, you see that repeated twice in this verse. And Eitz Hagan is from the tree of the garden. So Wa, Yod, Mem, Kaf is like or for. So you could use letter Kaf as a prefix too in some cases, you'll see. Oh, yeah, here we go. There's kaf used as a prefix in verse 5. This is 5, sorry, 3-5. Got that letter there, the kaf, and connected to the word Elohim. So you shall be like Elohim. And the like is translated as. So like or as. Knowing right and wrong. Righteousness or wonderfulness and evil. You see that word kub. That word kub, which is that law and date. It's used for righteousness or something that's wonderful or great. The letter wa, which is and the root word, which is the rash and the ayin, right?
Ra.
So I pronounce ayin as I because I don't believe that the Creator wanted us to have two letters that are the same. It makes no sense to have an ayin and an al both make the ah sound. Same thing with tau and thet. Thet would be more like th as in the, whereas tau is a hard t sound. And I would say the same thing is true of shin and samek. So that's just my thing. Whether other people want to follow along with that is, of course, up to them. Just gonna check my room real quick here. This is, so where this all started for me was, this is years ago. When I first started this stuff, woke up one day and I thought to myself, well, it makes no sense for the modern Masoretic to change the bait to a letter B or to make it silent. So the bait should be B, and the letter P makes no sense to turn that into an F, to my understanding anyhow. So I pronounce the P as P, my bait as bit, a B, and I had done my initial teaching on that on the blackboard, and I had a lady that called me up and she said, you know, it's interesting because 7 years prior, she had a dream that there was somebody teaching on a blackboard. She couldn't see my face. She didn't know me at the time. But I was wearing my usual turban and robe. And I was teaching that bait should not be a V. And so she had that dream 7 years prior, before I even started this stuff. So I just took that to understand that this is what Yah wanted me to do, is to teach people pictographic language and how things were changed from the more ancient pronunciation to modern nikkud. So now that I've taught you guys some prefixes and suffixes, continue on with. I'll just give you a couple more if you're taking notes or writing things down. The lamed. Lamed is used as a prefix quite often. And that is also in or for. So let me see if I can. It's the word tashkil, or to make one wise. To make one wise. So we've got lamed as a prefix, and then your root word shkil means wisdom. And so lamed is a common prefix you'll find. I think I covered bait, but you don't often find bait as a prefix, but bait is for in. So I was just looking to see if I could find an example. Well, I know that we have lots of bait as prefix in chapter 1, which we were looking at. So I should have started. Letter bait. The very first word is your prefix for in, and your root word rashid. Rash, al, shin, which in itself is also a word meaning for the head. The head is the first for the beginning. With the yod and tau, you have the actual word for beginning. So the bait is for in. And I believe those are most, if not all, of the prefixes that you need to kind of memorize. Let's get down to the actual letters. I can pull it up. I'm not sure are you guys seeing the importance of Aibreet on your screen there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it switched it. So on the website, you'll find Aibreet, aka Hebrew, on the website, thewaythemosthigh.ca. You can see an example of the Shema, which is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. One of the instructions within the Torah is that we should write the commands upon our doorposts. And so it took me a long time to make that. It took me several days. But as you can see from the picture, you have the whole text there if you wanted to actually read it. I've separated the words by dots to make it easier. And I've separated the verses by 2 dots. So people can check that out and look through it if they want. Of course, to know what all these letters are, we then go to this document that I have here on Aibreet, names and vowels. And this is a really handy tool for people that are just new to this, because it's got all the letters and all the references. You know, a lot of websites will have these letters up, but they don't provide you an exact reference for how to find each of those letters, because each of them is actually a word. So you continue down at the the bottom there, we've um, got a breakdown of the father's name in connection to Yehuda. I gave one example for Yehushai as well, the son of Nun. And then I've got an explanation of the difference between how things developed from older Aibreet, older Hebrew to modern Masoretic. So this gives people some ideas to the development and of other things. So let's get back up to our letters. And we only have 10 minutes, at least this time. Tomorrow we'll have more time because I'm going to upgrade my Zoom meetings. But let's see if anyone else is trying to get in yet. No. We'll get back to this. So starting with the letter Al. Al is made up of two letters, the letter Al and also the letter Lamed. And this is basically the ox, which we know is used for offerings or worship. Not that they worshipped oxen like Egypt, but it was a symbol of great stature, power, and we're going to see its connection to the usage of the word chiefs. So we'll go to Genesis chapter 36, verse 15 for that. There we go. Get that right? Hold on a second. Verse 15. Oh yeah, there we go. So this word here, al lamed he, is the word for these. And then we've got our root word, which is al itself, this al lamed. But when you're referring to a chief, it is the word alut. And with the yod at the end, that's your plural form. So more than one chief. So we've got, these are the alupeh, these are the chiefs of the sons of Ashur. So a chief or a leader is essentially what the first letter ultimately means, is somebody that's leading. And we'll go also to the letter Lamed, as we've covered the letter Al. But Lamed is connected to the Al, of course. And that's your picture of the shepherd's staff leading a flock. So we'll just cover that one real quick as well. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1. So, chapter 4, verse 1, and now you shall hear and listen to the statutes and the ordinances which I teach you. So, we've got that word anki. Anki means even I. And we've got the mem as a prefix, meaning from or to. And we've got our root word, which is lamed. So you see, lamed is actually a word in Aibreet. It's not just a letter. Lamed, mem, and dalet. So we could go into details using the mem, which is the symbol for water, and the dalet being the symbol for the door. The shepherd that brings you through the water, or gives you water, or it's a doorway, teaching, leading you through a door to teach you like a shepherd, leading cattle. It's a number of ways to look at that. The thing about picture letters is that they have several different meanings, and so you can kind of really be creative with it. But you get the general sense as to what this is meaning. So lamed means to teach or to lead. So you could translate this actually as lead, because he's leading us into the statutes and ordinances. So again, once you start to understand the basic concepts of these letters and the words that they came from and the examples that you have in Scripture such as this, you're able to put together a better picture as to the meaning of the word from the picture letters. So I think we've already covered a lot today. Realize that each of these lessons is going to be a real crash course for most people. I think we've covered a lot of information even in just this short broadcast. So tomorrow we'll continue on with the letters Beit and Gam, and hopefully we'll get Dalet and Hey done as well too. We'll have a longer broadcast to work with. We've got 2 minutes left for recording, so if there's anyone that has questions or something they want to say as we finish our program for tonight, feel free to talk, you guys. It's up to you. Any questions on what we've covered so far? Or?
I mean, I don't agree with some of it, but for the most part, you're on key with a lot of it. You know, with the meanings of the letters. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, you're doing good. Like I self-taught myself, so you know what I mean. Like, but yeah, I disagree with none of it. So.
There's that. Did you guys want to do another meeting tonight? Because we can do another 40-minute one.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine with me because we would be up for another couple hours anyways. So I'd
I was
rather
gonna
be
say,
learning something than.
All right.
I get into anything learning Hebrew, whether and I listen to all different people's points of view because it's a lost language,
Yeah, for sure.
For instance, where you consider ayin with an I was taught ayin was silent. You know what I mean? So that right there is a different, you know what I mean? A difference of opinion. Where if you talk to an Orthodox Jew, they'll tell you, well, that all depends. It can be an or a silent. You know what I mean? They got like different. So, but yeah, as far as putting the words together, where to find it, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm with you there.
All right. So we'll close this one and then I'll take a break for about 10 minutes and then I'll open up a new one.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right, so welcome to another edition of The Way of the Most High. We've been talking about ancient Hebrew and modern Hebrew, and just for the recording, this is a book called The Writing of God by Miles R. Jones. Please be advised he is a Christian, so he's he's got some of that stuff in there. But it does show, over 200 pages of development from older Aibreet, older Hebrew to modern. So we left off in our last broadcast teaching people about Aibreet or Hebrew. And again, I would encourage people watching this video that it is important for you to do so, because I'll be showing you different ways to translate the words, and most translations are not really a literal translation. They'll change the word order. They don't always maintain the same translation for the word, so that can be differing as well. So we'll get into some of that as we go along. Okay. So for those of you catching up, you're going to want to check out the first video that I've done on, we covered the letters Al, Beit, Lamed, and a number of other things. So we'll continue on with the letter Gam. You'll see that it looks like a foot. It's in the shape of a foot, anyway, an L shape. And that's what it was to represent, is the foot. So it's commonly called Gimel. I call this either Gam in the short form. And we're going to look at this again in Scripture. Again, for those of you who are catching up with the last broadcast, we have Scripture verses for each of these letters. So it's very helpful for people to actually see how each letter is a word and how it's used. So Genesis chapter 24, verse 64. I'm using the Nikkud Mamre site. This is a very helpful site for people to see the Hebrew to English. Again, that's Nikkud Mamre, MECHOM -MAMRE.org. There are other websites that do this, but I like this one. So chapter 24, this is what we said. Yeah, and 64. Actually, that can't be right. I must have had a numerical error. Okay, we'll look up a different one then, and hopefully I can find it in eSword. Again, if viewers do not have eSword, you'll probably want to download this free app, because it gives you the actual words and numbers without having to use a book concordance and all that sort of stuff. Let's see if we can't find this here in Genesis. Yeah, 2464. Maybe another page for this. Not sure. Yeah, I'm in the wrong book. That would be helpful. All right, Genesis 24:64. And so then went out, again, your prefix wa and the word yitzah, meaning to be taken out or to go out. So then went Yitzhak into the field in the evening time, which is this word here, Arab, Ayin, Rash, Beit. And he lifted up his eyes, this phrase right here, and then he saw, and behold, Gamalim. Gamalim. So your root word is gam and mem, or gam, and that actually means to be walking, to be going. And in order to refer to camels, they added the lamed and the yod and mem. The yod and the mem are your plural. So one camel would just be gamel. Two camels or more is gamelim. This word here that's after it is beit al, which is ba, which means to be going. It's even used with regards to the sun that's going. When the sun is going, it says the shemesh is ba, is going. And again, it uses the plural form because it's more than one camel. So bayim. Right. So we mentioned before that the gam is the symbol of the foot. And we've got the letter lamed, which is the symbol for to shepherd or to guide. So this is a guided walking or a shepherded walking that refers to the camel, because camels would be bridled and so on and so forth. So I'll go down now to back to our document. Again, this document is on the website, thewayofthemosthigh.ca, and the document is called Aibreet. It's linked on my Aibreet page. So Aibreet, aka Hebrew, is where you'll find all stuff about Hebrew on my site. And you can go through this document as well. Next letter is Dalet. You'll see this top line, which refers to the lintel, or the top piece of the door, and the square, of course, being the opening or entrance of the doorway. And so we'll go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 9. This is not a long verse, so I will cover it for you. So again, the law prefix being and. Then we've got our root word, which is katab, which is cow, kaf, tau, and beit. To katab, to write or to engrave. And with the tau and the mem ending, that's your plural form for you in the plural form. So, and you shall, again, the root word is to write or to engrave, to katab. And we have this word here, which is al. Al means upon or over, spelled ayin lamet. And mezuzot. Mezuzot being the plural form of the doorpost. So the wa and the tau ending, you'll find this as a suffix in numerous words. And this, in this case, this is the plural form of doorpost. So mezazut. And then you've got the word beit, which is beit yad tau, which is translated as house. And also upon your gates. So Vishrarika. That one's a tough one, but you've got the vowel for and, which is right here. And then you've got a beit prefix, which is translated as upon in this case. Your root word, which is sha'arav, which is shin ayin rosh, the gate. And then with the yod, that's your plural, and the ka ending for the kaf is you. So upon your gates. So we were going to, yes, we're looking at Dalet. So we'll go to Genesis chapter 19, verse 6. Again, you can see an engraving that I had made for my doorpost at the top of my website page on the importance of Aibreet right there. That's from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9 as well. We'll go to Genesis 19:6. Okay, there's that phrase again, Vayetza, and to go out. And so they went, that is Lut. Lut is our subject, the man, Lut. And he went, and he had shut the door. And that's our word right there, Dalet, spelled Dalet, Lamed, Tau. So again, you've got two prefixes, which is not really in there, but and the. So and the door. So he's shutting the door. So again, we've got the picture of the doorway for the Dalet. And then we've got the shepherd's staff, which is Lamed, and then two crossed sticks. So Dalet as a word in pictures is kind of like the door that you're led to. It's the place that you mark as yours. You mark the door. We'll get to the letter Tau later on. Oops. Our next letter is the letter He. Here. As you can see, this is a man who's standing with his arms up. Now this could be understood as being praised, or he's looking out through a window, or he's beholding something. So to look or to behold. And we'll just look at Genesis 47, verse 23. See how that thing pops up all the time. In general, the letter, or the word, sorry, the word haya means to let there come to be. And we know that this has relationship to the name of the Father, Yahuwah. So causing life to come to be is the aspect of the Father's name, essentially. Now we've got to go down to 47, verse 22. Does this. Yeah, 47 and verse 23. We covered this phrase yesterday. Again, the and. So, or then, they translate it as then here, but and he, that's the yod prefix. So, and he said, is Amen. Then said Yusuf unto the people, behold, hen. So this is one usage of the word hey. Hen meaning to behold. I have brought you this day, which is this word here. That's another phrase you can easily remember, is hayun. The hey prefix being da, and yad wa mem being day. So today, to your land, which is the root word there is Adam. So you'll see Adam as the root for your land. The tau and the kaf and the mem ending is the plural form of yours. So to your land. And to your Pharaoh, to Pharaoh. Lakam. Lakam is the word for bread, or also for translated different ways, but it's for you. So I was thinking of Lakam. Lakam is for you, sorry. And then seed is Zerai. Zayin, Rosh, and Ayin. And yeah, we don't have any more examples of the letter Hey. The letter Hey is usually connected, as you can see, with the letter Al, or in this case, Nun, or in the phrase Haya, as I said, which means to let there be light. Verse 24 there's that phrase, Haya. Which again, it says, let there be, or it shall come to pass. So again, bringing something into existence, beholding something that comes to pass, is the general sense of where the letter Hey came from. And so again, it's generally called Hey, but I think a better name for the letter would actually be Haya, but it's my personal preference. We've got the letter Wa now. Wa. It's my understanding that they did not have the hard O sound that we have in English. The closest that you would have to that is the letter Ko. But the Wa is usually U or Ua, depending on where it is found within the word. We're going to look at this. This is the tent peg. So the tent peg is shaped in the form of a Y to hold the rope down at the corner points where you would where you'd stake your tent. So look at Exodus chapter 27, verse 10. So let me see here if we've got anyone else trying to join the room. No, no text so far. Any questions or comments on what we've been doing so far?
No.
Everyone having fun?
Oh yeah. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Like I said, anything prefix or suffix, I need to learn. Like I need to brush up on. So it's all good. You're doing nice.
Right on. That's the one thing that eSword is really great for beginners, because, and this is also important for people to understand, is that concordances only give you the actual word. It doesn't give you the actual text, as we know. So for example, as we covered earlier, we have the word camel, which is gam, mem, and lamed, the mem. And we saw that there was a yod and mem ending, which made it plural for gamalim. So the eSword is really great for you to identify what the root word is. And then from that, you can actually see what was added to the front and to the back, meaning and, the, or him, or you, or the plural.
That's all I use that thing is great, and eSword.
Absolutely, phrase, yeah. You know,
You can do a thing. Well, on the eSword, you can do a comparison. Like you can put your, like your Hebrew Bible and then your TS 2009 and like your KJ. You can do a comparison of what each is saying. It's a great application to have.
absolutely. And so let's do something else, something a little different for people to be able to see why it's important to have a literal translation. So going to Genesis chapter 1, we're just going to do the first 1 or 2 verses. And hopefully we've got some example in here of how things are changed. But so the base prefix is literal. In the beginning, Rashid, in order for this to make sense in English, they had to add in the. So English is not Aibreet or Hebrew. And we know that in order to put it into the language of English, there will necessarily be times that we have to add in something for clarity. A literal translation would just be in beginning. So Rashid meaning beginning and the base prefix being in. Created. So here you're going to have an example of the fact that the word order has been changed. It should say, in beginning created Elohim. And then this word here is never translated in the English text, very rarely. And this is something I want to teach people because a lot of people like this translation that Stephen Pidgeon did called the Sefer. And he puts this at in there because he thinks that al and tal refer to the creator. And you will never find that phrase within the Old Testament, al and tal. If you wanted to say beginning and the end, you wouldn't refer to the first and last letters of Aibreet. You would say Rashun wa Achrun, which means the first or the head, and also the last, or the afterwards. Afterwards is actually better because Acher means after. But this word at should literally be translated as at. So in beginning created Elohim at the, which is your faith, and then Shemayim. So your root word for that is Mayim. Mem,
Water.
mem yod mem, which means waters. When you add the letter shin to mayim, we're talking about the firmament of heaven. So just mayim is waters, but when the shin is added, we're talking about the firmament or the heavens. And again, the waw for and again, this word at is not put there. It should be at the heavens and at the, which is your letter hey there. And then aratz in the earth. So once a person learns enough Aibreet or Hebrew, they can literally see that the word order is being changed. Sometimes words are added in, and some aren't even put in there at all. So this is why I think it's important to do that, because once you're able to do that, then when people are quoting to you scriptures, you can actually see whether the Christian Bible has changed it or whether it's actual text. Okay, let's go to Exodus 27:10. We didn't cover the law yet. Exodus.
What'd you say? Exodus what?
27:10.
This is 27.
And this first word is interesting because the word amed, which is ayin, mem, and dalet, means to stand firm. And that's what's used for the word pillar. So we see a lot of different picture words, different ideas, like just standing and being firm, as being the word for pillars as well. The pillars thereof shall be 20, their sockets 20, of brass, and here we come to our portion of the letters, which is Vav. So in modern Hebrew, they say Vav, Vav. And this is the plural form with the letter Yod. So one hook or one tent peg would just be Vav, but then you add the letter Yod to make it the plural form. So again, this repetition uses the repetition of those two letters. I guess that's for just to emphasize that they were making the tent firm. We're to put two of those hooks together. Gonna see something here. All right. We'll do another 10 minutes of study from this. Cover the letter Zion. So Zion is not necessarily an actual word, as far as I've seen. I'm not sure how they developed that, but we know that the root word is azan. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 13. And before we do that, I'll just go over again what this looks like. This is a mattock. The mattock that would be used for plowing a trench to plant your seeds. So it could be a spade or a shovel or something that is used for a weapon. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 23:13 for that one. Well, that's better. Okay. All right. So you shall have a place also without the camp, where you shall go forth abroad, and you shall have, this is a word here, which is a zan, a paddle or a spade, a shovel, and translates as weapons as well. Amongst your weapons or your apparel, things that you would normally be carrying with you, forms of tools or essentials. So again, that word is azan, al zain nun. That letter nun, we'll get to that later, but that's for seed. So you can see how having the seed, a paddle or spade to dig up the ground to perform seeding, sowing. And then that kaf ending, of course, is you. And this word here, again, we've seen that earlier, ayin lamed, upon. So upon you, you should have this azan. I think that one's pretty simple. The next word that we come to, the next letter, is the word Theth. It's these three lines with a top post and a bottom post. And this is essentially a fence that you would use for your property or your cattle. You have example of that in Genesis 9, verse 2. Genesis 9:2, and the fear and dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, upon the fowl of the air, and upon the ground that teems, upon the fishes of the sea, and into your hand they are delivered. Let's see. We've got a root word there. So wa and Theth come. So in this case, they decided to translate it as fear or dread. And I think the reason for that is because the fence would protect your property and it would keep people out. Again, the kaf in them ending is for you in the plural sense. Some of these letters, it's hard to find Like I said, they're not directly as spelt in the English. So we're looking for hey, which, as I showed you, closest thing before that would be haya. Same with zayin, the closest thing would be a zan. And so in my document, I have talked about the fear and terror of you, which again is the takam. And yeah, so that's your fence. And then Theth. Again, I pronounce the Theth as more like a TH as in teeth, but again, that's just my preference for trying to understand that there's two different letters in the Greek. One is tau and one is Thet. But in this case, we've got the symbol is a circle with an X in it. This is kind of like the loom that a person would use, or basket weaving. Something that is spun like a wheel. So look at Exodus chapter 35, verse 25. And all the ladies that were wise-hearted would spin with their hands. And let's see here. Yeah, they have. That's with their hands. And they had brought that which they had spun. And so that's this phrase here. So, and they had brought from what they had spun. Matua. Matua. So you can see the root word there is using the letter Thet in terms of reference to spinning or weaving. In this case, they're working with purple, scarlet, fine linen, so on and so forth. Like this word here, teknet. So normally you would have the tek, top, and mem. Normally this would be followed with the letter he, or hekmeh, which is for wisdom. And this word here connected to heart, love, lamed and beit. So the tau ending is for women. So if it's just wisdom in the general sense, it would end with hey. In this case, it's female that's being referred to, so it changes to the letter tau. So they are wise in heart. These are people that are really great with their hands, they're knowledgeable, and they're engaged with working with the loom, weaving. So we've got quite a few letters yet to go. I think we can, probably take at least probably 2 more sessions, but we'll leave it off at that, and we'll continue tomorrow with another broadcast for letters yod and so forth. Any questions or comments before we end tonight's broadcast?
Sorry, had to get a drink. I'm back.
That's okay. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll continue on with the letter yod and so on and so forth. So if everyone who's watched this broadcast, I hope that we've given you some examples and stuff to think about and work with. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to email me at followya@gmail.com or join one of our broadcasts or comment on my YouTube. So shalom for now.
Shalom.